And I think just there was some baggage that Mary had that I didn't know about. Initially, I felt like I could live with it. I mean, here, baby, want a piece of gum? You know I don't like spearmint. I can't live in a world where she is constantly angry at me. Janelle came in the family and it diluted this experience I had with Mary. What ended up happening is that sort of anger or dysfunction started to manifest between Janelle and Mary. And that got pretty bad.
Hi, friends. It's Katie from Without a Crystal Ball. Welcome back to my channel. It's Monday, September 23rd, 2024. There's some very confusing things happening on Sister Wives with the family. And while in one breath, Janelle wants to sue Cody, in the next breath, she doesn't want to get a release from him because she still believes in her faith and she still believes in her vows. And then Cody says that he doesn't believe in the faith anymore. So it's quite confusing because it sounds like Cody's not claiming Janelle and Janelle's not claiming Cody, but yet Janelle is admitting to basically the fact that she's going to stay married to him spiritually because of her faith. So what Janelle has acknowledged is that she has separated her life from him, but she will never date anyone ever again under this current split because she still believes in the Joseph Smith fundamentalist doctrine. And she's just becoming the new Mary, but she's just not going to pretend like she wants to try to work things out. And she's going to allow herself to believe that she can't date again or enter a new relationship because she has to honor this eternal celestial commitment to Cody that he's failed to honor with her. This episode was a mixed bag of yay Janelle and this is weird Janelle. And Janelle getting angry at Christine for daring to ask her questions about her marriage and her relationship. Janelle seems to be a little bit defensive still about where she's at and not ready to cut the cord completely, which is, I think, part of the reason why she's been so iffy about the division of the assets. Okay. And Christine wants to like nudge her along to move along. And I hope she gets there.
Like we aren't even talking on the phone.
Did you tell him the words "it's over"?
No, like I don't see him. He avoids me.
Why don't you have a conversation with him and tell him it's over?
I've been trying to talk to him about the land and he keeps putting me off. Keeps like, can't talk for this reason, and then that reason passes and then he can't talk for another reason. And so it's like,
Yeah, for a lot of reasons you need to make that call.
So this is what frustrates me. Christine comes into town and she starts grilling me and expects my breakup to look just like hers and to cross off all these boxes that hers did.
What I think was most jarring to me about that interaction is I didn't really find anything that Christine said being rude. I didn't think that Christine was being aggressive. I honestly feel like Christine is watching from the outside looking in and she sees what's happening and she knows how Cody is. She knows how Robin is. She knows that Janelle has been lured back into Cody's clutches like 3 times. And I think she has legitimate concerns about that happening again. And I think that she knows that Janelle is stalling. And Janelle doesn't want to have that conversation for whatever reason, claiming that Cody doesn't want to talk to her for whatever reason. But at the same time, if Janelle wanted that conversation to happen, it could happen. And I just don't think she wants that conversation to happen because, as much as Janelle was saying here that she doesn't want to be with him, she's giving Christine mixed messages of, well, no, we're not together. I don't see a path forward with him. I've already told him that our relationship is over. But she hasn't really said that it's over. She says that she wants to be separated from him. And Janelle gets really weird about Christine just encouraging her to have that conversation and almost like acting like Christine is grilling her. And if you two are really good friends, that kind of like interaction shouldn't make you mad. It shouldn't irritate you. It shouldn't frustrate you that a friend shares their opinion. And I don't think Christine is telling Janelle that she has to do what she did by any means. I think that she's trying to help her friend as best she can. But Christina still very much does have to walk on eggshells with Janelle. There are a lot of times when I watch their relationship and I'm happy that they're close, but Christine is able to be a lot more open than Janelle is. And Christine actually does a lot more to emotionally support Janelle than the flip. It's I don't know. I don't know how long I don't know if they're gonna stay together forever, you know what I mean? Janelle gets really mad every time Christine dares to ask her question. And she doesn't do it to Christine's face. She does it to the production and she gets mad about it. And I don't, on the flip side, see Christine expressing anger whatsoever towards Janelle. And honestly saying that I have to be careful and tread lightly with her. That's an unhealthy dynamic. And I don't know if it's because Janelle isn't ready to let go of her faith, if she doesn't want to be told what to do, if there's like underlying history here that's leading them to be this uncomfortable with each other. But you should be able to ask your friend what they're doing and encourage them and share your advice without getting pissed off to the producers.
She was always indicating that she didn't want to reconcile. It was kind of this sort of like, we're not in the same place. We're not necessarily in agreement. We're not really working on the relationship. There was never anything cut and dried. It was more like we're gradually just fading away.
Cody's sitting here complaining about Janelle, saying that there was no communication, nothing was clear. You did the same exact thing to me. Karma's a bitch.
This is why I think Christine is urging Janelle to have that conversation because honestly, if she doesn't, then Cody's going to always think that there's a possibility of reconciliation. And Robin equally is always going to think that there's a possibility of reconciliation. And he's like, we've never had that conversation, even though they have. Mary's saying, this is what he did to me. Karma's a bitch. But Janelle then after that exchange tells Christine that she will never be in a marriage with him again, but there isn't anyone else because she still has her faith. And so what she's saying is that I will never date anyone ever again. My whole life, I'm going to be celibate and single because I still believe that I am eternally sealed to him. I'm sealed to Cody for time and all eternity. When the reality is that yes, they were sealed in their church, but at the same time, in order for them to actually get into the celestial kingdom, one of the former members that I speak to all the time said that right now, Cody's not even eligible because in order to attain that, you have to be in harmony with at least 3 women at the same time, meaning you're in a celestial marriage of harmony and happiness. Having 3 isn't enough. And so Janelle's flawed logic here is that, well, I have to stay true to him so that I can get there to my eternity. But the reality is, none of them are going under this doctrine because they're not in harmony. So it's best that she just let him go. Maybe she'll get there.
Those things that he's asking me for now, obedience and whatever, for him to be the patriarch, those were never part of our original marriage contract. It was not something we discussed. It was not something he asked of me. I probably never would have agreed. I probably never would have married him.
This whole patriarchy thing, I've never done that. I've never intended to. And when I spoke of it, it was out of grief and pain and failure.
I want to share with you that exchange because these two don't know what patriarchy means. And neither one of them is actually acknowledging that the cult that they come from is patriarchal in nature. No woman can hold any position of power. The husband is the controller of the family, the head of the house, the priesthood authority of the family, the one that gives the blessings that the women must obey. Janelle saying that it was never part of her marriage contract either doesn't know her faith or is lying because it absolutely is a part of her faith. When she agreed to marry Cody, she agreed to run her will into his, and she agreed that she would obey him as the priesthood authority of the family. That's a fundamental belief in this system. The husband has the final say, is the one that leads, is the one in control. He's the one that's their ticket to God. Of course it's a patriarchy. And for Cody to say he's never been a patriarch is bullcrap. He's always been a patriarch. And they're falling apart right now because Janelle's resisting the patriarchy. Christine doesn't want to be in the patriarchy. And Mary would still be in the patriarchy if he let her be in the patriarchy. But they don't know what patriarchy is, clearly. There's times when Janelle says that she's very smart, where I wonder if she realizes that she's either very brainwashed or been very misled. And if that's the case, if she says that I never would have agreed to this had this been the case, she didn't know what she was getting into then when she married him, because she didn't know the faith well enough. Because their church very clearly is patriarchal. Their church very clearly uses women as chattel, vehicles for sex and for money. Women are not allowed to be priesthoods. They're not allowed to give blessings. Women are property. We're going to move on to what Cody's disgusting comments about Mary.
There was a complete nuance about, well, we're going to figure out our relationship. Like, there were several times I was with her where I'm like, well, here's to a new beginning. We're going to figure this out. Every time I was with her, she wasn't nice. She wasn't fun. She wasn't kind. She wasn't interesting. I'm trying to be curious with her, and I'm bored. And so I guess, to be fair, Mary feels abandoned, but I didn't kick me out.
On the one hand, Cody says that he can't get a divorce. And then on the other hand, he said he wanted to work it out with her. And then on the other hand, he said when he would try to work it out with her, she wasn't nice to him. And it's almost like he takes no stock in the fact that he created the mess. She was the first wife. And as much as they say they wanted celestial plural marriage, it's hard for me at times to believe that to be true. And even if she says she wanted it, that does not prepare for a woman to have to deal with it. It's asinine to assume that a man can just go on and take more women, and for the main wife, the legal wife, to just not have feelings, to not feel jealousy, to not feel anger, to not feel resentment, to not feel hostile towards him and the other wives. I would be if that were me. And Mary had to put up with a lot of bullcrap from him. And he is saying, well, she's declaring that I abandoned her, but I wasn't the one that abandoned. She kicked me out. He's playing game because he made it so intolerable for her and was so awful to her that he pushed her away because he didn't want to deal with her, which is what these plural husbands or these polygamists do. They don't want to deal with the woman that is mad at them all the time. They don't want to tolerate or work through and be a better man and actually listen to their spouse. They just want to do what they do and not be held accountable. At least Cody does. And so he'd rather just discard her and then play the victim when he says that she is the one that actually is the one that pushed him out. And he won't even admit or acknowledge that, like, he did this to all three of them, Christine, Janelle, and Mary. He won't even go as far as to say that, like, he made bad choices or he did anything to them. He said, maybe I did, which is hilarious. Then he spends like 2 minutes talking about how Robyn is so loyal and she came into this family with loyalty and kindness. And that's just all a crock of crap. Robyn was loyal to no one but herself. It's just how he is able to mental gymnastics and justify what he's done. All of which is stupid because at the end of the day, he knows and he knew what the rules were of polygamy. He knew what the rules of the faith were. He's playing the victim saying, I couldn't do this, but he could have. He could have left the marriage. He could have left his faith. He could have stopped being abusive, but he didn't want to humble himself and acknowledge what he had done. So it's easier just to blame them or to blame the faith and take no responsibility.
About a little over a year ago, there was a text message chain, Kody and Robyn, and there was a split that happened after this text thread. So my older kids all said, this was emotionally unsafe. We just need to kind of step back. We just need to put down a boundary here. But it was never anything about, we don't want to see you again. We don't want anything to do with you. It was just about like, hey, this got yucky.
I can't believe Robyn said that with a straight face because, like, season 18, she was crying and she said this was another reaffirmation that we weren't being included. It was just like, we're on the outside, we're on the other side. Do you remember that whole meltdown she had?
I was pushing for the video chat for the sake of the kids. when I was getting all this pushback, I just finally went, why am I trying here? And I was like, fine, I'm out. You know, this is an effort in futility. My kids and I think it's heartbreaking and stupid because we don't understand. And here it is, just another reaffirmation that we're the outsiders and we're on the other side. We're not. We refuse to be. We don't know what else to do. We really, truly, my kids and I have felt like we got voted off the Brown family island. That is absolutely how we have felt.
So a few days after the confrontation, we got a text message from McKelty saying that Robyn and her kids weren't going to participate in this year's gift exchange. And it kind of hurt.
Robyn got mad because the kids would not immediately do what she wanted them to do and go onto a Zoom or like a FaceTime call so everyone could see each other. And when they didn't give her what she wanted, she had a meltdown. And then they all started fighting, and her kids started making wild accusations about it. Her girls said last season that they were told that people in the family were saying these things about them, that they had hostile feelings towards them. And Robyn said that she threw up her hands and decided they weren't going to do the gift exchange. And now she's saying this year that they were just saying, "Oh, this kind of got icky." No. McKelty had to go to everyone the next day or 2 days later and tell everyone they don't want to be a part of Christmas anymore. And then all last season, they pretended like they didn't do that. And now she's pretending like it didn't happen, and that's not what happened. The way that she can completely rewrite history is astounding. But then she brings her kids into this, which is equally as disturbing for what the kids say to defend her, which is so gross. And it makes me realize they are literally brainwashing these kids, because I am sure there were conversations between kids where they weren't nice to each other. That happens with kids all the time. I am sure there was bullying. I am sure there was nitpicking and fighting. That's what happens with kids. But it wasn't Christine and Janelle's responsibility to do all of this blending and Robyn to do nothing. And it also probably hurt Cody's kids to see him drop the family for new children that are not biologically his and adopt them. Cody had 6 kids with Christine that he had never claimed on any document legally, is not on their birth certificates of. And yet he became the legal father of 3 kids that he didn't need to be the legal father of when he had 6 that he had never claimed. Can you imagine what the heartbreak would be for those kids? But this is what the kids, Robyn's 2 daughters, said.
My mom's kids and I have each had our own experiences being told directly. I have been told directly, multiple circumstances by multiple different people, that I was not accepted, that I was not their sister, that they didn't consider or see me that way. The parents could have done a better job with, connecting us as a family, and it never really happened.
They're basically just regurgitating what Robyn said last year, that she felt that Christine and Mary and Janelle could have been more helpful in blending of the family, and they had a lot of problems with the blending of the family. And in the very beginning, can you blame them? The kids were told they had to accept these kids as their siblings. Aurora, Brianna, and Dayton were told to call Cody dad before they were ever married and barely knew him. And then the kids are supposed to accept 3 strange children as their own siblings and accept them for all of it when they don't even know them. And then you think it's just going to go seamlessly when it's not. And then the kids are told they need to shut up and be quiet and deal with it and accept it. So yes, the parents did make mistakes. And yes, they did force this to happen, and they did it all on TV, and it was done terribly. And as much as they all want to say that it was done as best they could, I think Janelle said it best last season when she said that there were mistakes that were made, that they didn't allow their kids to have a voice or a say, and they should have been listening to their kids more. But for Aurora to say publicly, there were actually people that told me that they didn't consider me a sister or see me that way. Okay? Who? Give me a name. Tell me who. And tell me in what context was it said? And why was it said that? Did you say something to them? Were you being snarky, vindictive, or cruel? Were you getting something that the other kids weren't getting? Were you sucking up to Cody and telling on kids? Like, what did you do, Aurora? I don't believe that Aurora in this case would be the victim. The kids were forced to accept strangers. And Robyn, I would be the exact same way as them. And even if they said, I don't see you as a sister, so you're not going to let that go 30 years later or 10 years later? Aurora, what have you said to them that's hurt them? What have you done to them that's hurt them? The problem with Robyn is that she has brainwashed her daughters and her kids to believe that everyone hates them when they don't. I am sure over time they got over it, but Isabel was close to them. Gwendolyn loved Aurora, and Aurora and Gwendolyn were like best friends. They did everything together. So I don't know. All of this is just beyond weird to me because Kody and Robyn don't want to fight their own fights. And then Kody gets on a delusional kick and says that there are people in this family that think they're better than everyone, which is really him projecting. Kody, Robyn, and her kids all think they're better than them. And that's why they're doing this. Robyn and Kody are disgusting for doing this to the kids because one day when they learn the truth and they know and they hear that their siblings didn't hate them, they're going to realize that it was Kody and Robyn that were the abusive ones, not the siblings.
There's some people in my family that feel like they are superior to others. And they're like, oh, well, we're not going to include them in our club. I'm going to move forward and find happiness and joy outside of my club because it was my club and I got kicked out of it.
Can you imagine being a father of 13 children because he has 13 children that were biologically his own before Robyn came into the picture? Can you imagine being a father of 13 kids and saying there are people in this family that believe they are superior than others and they don't include you in their club? Can you imagine saying that about your children and then acting like your children who you've neglected, who you've abused, who you've labor trafficked, who you've disparaged and ignored and left, kicked you out of the club and felt like they were superior to you when it's actually the reverse? They felt like you were better than them and that Robyn's kids were better than them and they were mistreated and left to be fending for themselves and you left them. Can you imagine being this delusional and saying that to a national audience and then acting like you're the victim of your children? There are times when I listen to these people speak, and I think every single one of the adults failed the kids in some capacity. As much as I like Christine and Janelle, there's lots of mistakes they made. And some of those mistakes included sticking around for as long as they did and not getting out sooner and lying to the public and pretending like everything was fine and not leaving sooner. But then I also recognize that they were part of a cult and were being abused. And so I don't want to blame victims. But the parents had a duty to these children. And when there are adults in this family blaming the kids and they don't have the foresight to actually look at their choices and how their choices actually were the light that lit the spark that set off the dynamite. Kody admitted that he brought in other wives basically so he could pit them against each other so that he didn't have to get the heat. And he is still pitting them against each other today. He is still pitting the kids with Robyn against the other kids because he's slighted. Robyn is pitting her kids against the other kids because she's pissed. And I don't see Janelle and Christine doing that narcissistic or playing that narcissistic game. I see them trying to understand what they could have done better and how they could have made things better. But Kody's and Robyn's language is so final. And for Robyn to say that my kids were just saying this is icky right now, but then she brings up Aurora to say that I had family members tell me that they didn't see me as a sister. So they weren't just talking about right now, then, Robyn. They were talking about they've not let that go 10 years later. And honestly, if that's the worst thing that a sibling could say to you, I could name 100 different things that I was told by my sibling that are way worse than what that is. Way worse. That's an incredibly fragile point of view if you're offended by that and you can't see your mom was the one that brought you into this family, forced you into this family, and didn't have your best interests at heart. Robyn is pitting her children against Cody's kids with the other wives so that her kids cannot be angry at her. And it's disgusting. And Cody's doing the exact same thing. So those kids will not get mad at them. Their narcissistic games continue, and I fear for them. What are your thoughts about this? Let me know in the comments below. Make sure to give this video a thumbs up if you like these kinds of videos. Make sure to subscribe to my channel if you haven't subscribed. And please click on the bell and set your notifications for all so you never miss a video. Thank you so much for watching. Bye, everyone.